Hi, this is Mr. Max with Sankofa Mathematics. I am doing my second video on the three-part series I talked about with solids with no uniform cross-section. So what I did in this particular video, I took multi-topics that we are going to combine with other topics in mathematics to answer questions mostly on this particular scenario. And I have done two powerful topics, and I need you to be able to, in order for you to get where I get this exercise or where I have the exercise, if you have joined my Google Classroom, you can actually download it from there, and then you can attempt to solve it on your own, and then you can look at the video. I also indicated the link on that particular worksheet for you to get to my YouTube channel. Don't forget also to subscribe, click the like button and the notification bell. Right, so let's delve right into it. All right, so we have got the first one here. It says the diagram shows a pyramid on a horizontal rectangular base. Now I have underlined the word rectangular base there. So the base here is a rectangle. Then ABCD, you can see that rectangle there. So the diagonals of the rectangle, they meet at E, as you can also see. Then P is vertically above that point, so that is the vertical height. All right, then AB is 8 centimeters. And BC is 6 centimeters, and PC, the slant height of the pyramid, is 13 centimeters. So the information must match what is on the diagram. So the very first thing they want us to do, they want you to calculate PE, which is that vertical distance there. Now, what I did here is I first took the rectangles here at the bottom, but I look at triangle ABC. Now you know that that is going to be 90 degrees because the rectangle, all the angles inside must be 90 degrees. So I need to calculate the value of AC in order for me to know what the value of EC is. Okay, all right. So when you use Pythagoras now, AC is the highest, the longest side, so that's the hypotenuse. So you need to know the hypotenuse by adding the squares of the two shorter legs. All right, so that gives you AC should be 10 centimeters. All right, so I can actually bring in a triangle here now, and I know that EC has to be half of 10 because the diagonals of a rectangle, they are equal and they also bisect one another. So if A to C is equal to 10, then half of 10 AE is 10 is 5, and EC will also be 5. So that will allow me now to find the value of PE. All right, so I'll be using Pythagoras now to find that height. All right, so let me bring it back, and then you use Pythagoras. Since we're looking for a short side, we're going to subtract. So P square is equal to 13 square minus 5 square. Okay, you take one of the short legs of the right angle triangle and you subtract it from the square of the hypotenuse. So that gives me the value of P to be 12 centimeters. Right, then they ask you to calculate the volume of the pyramid. So they give you the formula, remember, and we know that the area of the base of a pyramid is that rectangle. So I'm just bringing back that little part there. So the area of the base has to be the area of the rectangle. We take a third of 8 times 6 and then multiply it by that height of 12 that we just calculated. All right, and that should give me the volume to be 192 cubic centimeters. Right, now they are asking us to calculate angle PCA. So what I did is I took again that particular triangle, now of all the sides. Since I have all the sides and I'm supposed to find this angle theta here, then I can use any one of the trigonometric ratios. All right, the sine is opposite equals to over the hypotenuse, and you find the inverse, you find that the angle is 67.4. And when you use the cosine with respect to theta, adjacent, which is 5, over the hypotenuse of 13, gives you the same when you take the inverse. When you use the tangent ratio of theta, tan theta is opposite over the adjacent, and 12 over 5, you find the inverse of that. You see, any one of the ratios would give you the same solution. But make sure here that your calculator, whatever you use, is in degree mode. We do not want you to give the answers in a different mode. And also, make sure that your rounding is correct. You give your answers correct to 1 decimal place. Right, then they are saying that M is the midpoint at AD. So AD where it is, has a midpoint, it is labeled M. So I'm going to bring in my little dot, all right? And M here at N is the midpoint of BC. So I have now brought in that little particular triangle there in red that you can see, because they want me to calculate angle MPN. So let me just bring it then also on the other side. They want me to find angle MPN. All right. So once you have to find PN, all right, I do not need to go all the way up to M. I just have to look at that particular right angle triangle there, and that is the triangle PNE. All right, so the triangle PNE, I find what is P to N. P to N is this particular distance that I need to calculate, and that will be 12 squared, which is the height. And now here I'm going to add with 4. And where do I get the 4? Because remember, from M to N, since they are midpoints of those lines, this MN is parallel to AB, is also parallel to CD. So if you go from E to N, it has to be half of 8, which is where I get the 4 from. Okay, and I've left my answer in surd form because I'm still supposed to use that answer to find the missing value for certain things that is going to come. So probably we are not busy, we're finding the angle MPN. So now I'll have to find the angle MPN. So that angle we can definitely calculate it now. Right, so let me just bring that red part in here. So what we need to find now is this particular angle. We need to find this. What we need to find, if I have to repeat that, we need to find that particular angle here, theta here. And in order for me to find theta here, as I said, we have got everything else. Now we have to use something to do with the cosine rule or the law of cosines. And a quick revision, what is the law of cosine? What does it imply? If you're looking for for this particular angle here, we have to use the cosine. Cosine say whatever it's opposite that angle, square. So that's why I use P, small letter P square equals to M square plus N square. Okay, so this is an isosceles triangle because basically the two sides here, PN and PN, are equal. All right, minus 2 times the two sides that are flanking the angle times the cosine of that particular angle. Now, if you go around and you make cos theta the subject of the formula, this is what we're looking for, because we're looking for the angle. So once we know what this particular value is here, then we'll find the inverse of cosine for that particular value in order to find our particular angle there. Right, so I have punched them in. As you can see, I took it from here, so I have my particular values, the ones that flank the angle, minus 8 squared all over what you have here, 2mn. Right, so it cleans up nicely to 4 over 5 or 0.8. Now you need to only find the inverse of 4 over 5 with the cos inverse of 4 over 5, then you get 36.9 degrees to 1 decimal place. Now, they are asking us to calculate angle PBC. So I'm just going to bring back my pyramid again, PBC. Now, let me just take an extension. This is also an isosceles triangle, okay? And P to C is 13 centimeters and P to B is also 13 centimeters, okay? And we know this is 6. So we are supposed to find the angle here, all right, which is this particular angle. So it's always helpful if you can take out and draw the triangles of what you're supposed to calculate right in the values that you have. Again, I'm supposed to find an angle. I have got 3 sides given to me, and also the reason why I'm saying this is theta and this is theta here is because this is an isosceles triangle and the base angles are equal. Okay, but we are supposed to find one, and again brings us to the cosine rule, like what I have written previously. Now, when you want to find here, you use this cosine rule, you punch in, and then you find the ratio, which gives you 3 over 13. All right, and that's that stuff here. But we're not done. We're looking for the angle, so we have to find the inverse cos of 3 over 13, which gives me 76.7 degrees, obviously correct to 1 decimal place. So you see, you will struggle if you don't take out the triangles to the side and you fill in the values, and then it becomes clearer what is it you're supposed to use. Remember, I said it's a multi-topic question. All right, I'm dealing here with pyramids, but I'm also dealing here with sine and trigonometry and stuff like that. Right. So they are saying that if I bring my pyramid back, K is a point somewhere here on PB, and it is exactly 4 centimeters. All right. B to K, as you can see there. Now they are saying we're supposed to calculate the length of K to C. So let me bring in that particular line KC. So if I take this part and I bring it in a sort of a diagram, I know from my previous work that that angle at B is 76.7. I know it's 4 here and the 6 is here. So what we are supposed to find is the length of KC. All right. So when we find the length, we've got an angle flanked by two sides. We are using the cosine rule once more. All right. So the cosine rule says 4 squared plus 6 squared. You take these squares, the sum of the squares of two sides minus 2 times the sides times the cosine of 76.7. Right. When you clean that up, it gives you 40.99.95 and all that stuff there. I tend to write it out because I'm still supposed to take the square root of the particular answer. And only once I have written down, and then I will do the rounding. And I'm giving this answer correct to 3 significant figures. And I will also advise you that you do the same. Write down your full calculator display. If you're lazy, write it about to 4 decimal places you would do, and then you give your answer to the degree of accuracy that is specified in the question. Okay, so I have done most of these to 3 significant figures, and the questions that deal with decimal with angles I have given to 1 decimal place. Again, I must emphasize, when you are doing this type of questions, you need to extract that particular triangle with the measurements, and so that you can know what is it that you're supposed to find, and that will give you also what are you supposed to use. In this particular case, I'm using trigonometry. Right, this brings me to question 2. So what they are saying here is that they are saying that do we have a diagram? And let me bring in the diagram here. And it's a diagram of a pencil. And the length of the pencil is 18 centimeter. That is from 16.5, add 1.5 more. You get 18 centimeters. And it's made from a cylinder and also a cone. Okay? And they are saying here that the diameter is 0.7. Diameter of the cone will be the same as the diameter of the cylinder, obviously 0.7. Now, when you deal with this question, and suppose the questions that they're going to ask has to do with finding the volume of this pencil or finding the total surface area of this pencil, then you know somewhere you need to deal with the radius. Okay, and in order for you to find the radius, so in your back of your head already you know, for me to find the radius r, I'll have to take the diameter, which is 0.7, okay, and I have to divide that by 2. All right, in this particular case it will give me 0.35. All right, it's very important that you know this right from the onset, okay, so that it is in your head, that you do not make mistakes whenever you are dealing with this question, that you do not plug in formula, you do not plug in the diameter while you're supposed to plug in the radius. All right, so let's bring up the first question. So they ask us here to find the volume of the pencil. Now it's very important that you understand that the pencil is made out of the cylinder here as well as the cone. Right? The formula they gave us here is only the formula for the volume of a cone, which is a 3rd pi r squared times h, because its base is a circle pi r squared, times that h, that height of 1.5 there. But we need to find not the volume of the cone, we need to find the volume of the whole pencil. So in order for us to find the volume of the pencil, we need to know what is the volume of the cone plus what is the volume of the cylinder. So let me talk about cylinder, because we expect you in the exam to know how to find the volume of a cylinder. Now, the way you find the cross section of a cylinder is a circle. So it's pi r h squared times the height. All right. So once you have that, then to find the volume of a cylinder, it will be pi r squared, which is the area of the cross section. Then you multiply that by h. And don't forget, we are using also 3.142 here. That's what I'm using. And then obviously I expect you maybe to use that or use your calculator value. But remember, when you use this particular things, I'm saying here about pi, make sure that because pi is an irrational number, that you give your final answer only, you round only your final answer, and as you go along, try to write down the full calculator display. So as I said, the volume of the pencil is the volume of the cylinder, which is pi r squared times the height. The height of the cylinder is 16.5. Then you add it with the volume of the cone, which is a third times pi times, as you can see, I take the radius, 0.7 divided by 2. But here, be careful, the height, you square that, obviously, then you multiply by the height of the cone. The height of the cone is 1.5, and the height of the cylinder is 16.5. Do not confuse them. Don't add or don't put the wrong heights, then you will have a serious problem. All right, so the volume of one pencil it's about 6.54 cubic centimeters. Obviously this is given corrected to 3 significant figure. All right, when you use a calculator, you might get a few different digits here, but ultimately when you round it to 3 significant figures, remember, significant figure is the first non-zero digit, so it's 6.54. All right, that 3 cannot change that 4, right? So it's 6.54 cubic centimeters. That is the volume of one pencil. Very important. Right, then they are saying here 12 of these pencils, they fit into a rectangular box of length 18 centimeters. The width is W centimeters. The height is X centimeters. All right, and then there are 2 rows. Can you see that? And there are 6 in each row. Now, what they're asking us here is to find W and to find X. Now, here's what you need to know. We need to therefore work with the diameter. So let me bring in let me make that the bigger bloated part of this here. So I know that the diameter is 0.7. So if I add 2 of them, because they must touch, right? Then X would be simply 2 times that, okay, which is 1.4 centimeters. Can you see that? And if I want to find W here, I'll just have 0.7 plus another 0.7 plus another 0.7, because these circles are touching and the diameter goes right through, 0.7 here, plus another 0.7, plus another 0.7, and the last one here. And you'll realize they are all together 6, all right? So I'm just going to add them all together, simply multiply by 6. That gives me the value of X and the value of W. Okay, so don't get confused, because the circles are touching, this distance here is the same, all right? It's going to be the same because they are touching. That is what I'm saying here, and that is how I did that particular questions, and so on and so on. And also here, because they are touching, is the diameter, right? It's going to be the same up there, and that is what I mean by that. Right, this brings me to another question, and here they want us to find the volume of the box. So if I bring the box in, you will see that I have now completed the measurements. It's 1.4, 4.2 for the width here, and 18 there, all right? So now, to find the volume of a rectangular prism or a cuboid, you simply just take the measurements and you multiply them together. It's 1.4 by 4.2 by 18. So that gives you 105.84 cubic centimeters. And to 3 significant figures, it's 106 cubic centimeters. Now, what I like to do here is I like to bring all 12 pencils back. Remember, the volume of one pencil, all right, was about 6.54. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of these pencils. Right, now they ask us, because I brought them back for a reason, I'm going to do this question in stages. We're supposed to find the percentage of the volume of the box not occupied by the volume of the pencils, or by the pencil. So we need to know, we know the volume of 1. So what is the volume of 12 pencils then? All right, so 1 was 6.543215, and this is where you need to be careful. Do not bring the rounded answer in here, okay? It's going to affect the accuracy. So the volume of 12 pencils is 78.51858. Now, I am also not rounding this because I'm not done with the question, all right? So find the volume of all 12 of them. Volume of 1 was about 6.54, and all 12 of them multiply by 12, and then you get the volume of the pencils. Right, so now what we need to know is we then take the volume of the pencil, so we put it over. You see, I'm using the 105.84, not the 106, not a rounded answer. And I multiply that by 100, and I know the volume occupied by the pencils is 74.2%. So the pencils cover about 74.2% of the volume of the box, okay? Leaving you some 20-something odd percentage there of space. But they didn't ask the space that is left, but the volume that is occupied by the pencils. Now, here they're asking you, when you show all your workings, you're supposed to calculate the slant height of the cone, L. So let me bring in the cone here. So we are looking for this L, as you can see. Now, in order for us to do that L, let me bring in a rectangle here. Okay, so I know, as I said, the radius is 0.35. So I'm looking for, I know h is 1.5. So I'm looking for, if I bring the radius in here, okay, so that's 0.5. So my L, right, has to be found by using Pythagoras. You are correct. Okay, so when you use Pythagoras, then we know we're looking for the hypotenuse, right? So therefore it's going to be 1.5 squared plus 0.35 squared. And when you clean that up, obviously you're going to get the square root of 2.3725, which gives you 1.54 centimeters. That is how that particular question is done. So again, the emphasis is bring in your own drawings from the diagram. It's easier for you to know what is it that I'm supposed to do. And also remember the radius. I made allusion of it right from the beginning because you will be using it as you go along with this question. Right, then there's a CPAP. They say you're supposed to calculate now the total surface area of one pencil, okay? And once you have that, you give your answer to 3 significant figures. And then there's something interesting. They're also giving you, and this is what is done, right, at this level. They give you the formula to find the curved surface area of the cone, okay? But that's not the only surface area you have to find. You have to find the surface area of the cone, of the cylinder as well. All right, let me bring the pencil back so we can have an idea. The pi RL is going to be the cone. All right, but at the back there is a circle. So the surface, there's a surface there. It's not hollow, it's not open. So that surface at the back, which is obviously a circle. We know that the area of the circle is pi r squared. Then we're going to add it with the curved surface area here of the cylinder. And the formula to find the curved surface area of the cylinder is 2 pi r h. Okay, so it's that height times that, obviously that circumference there. Okay, right, so then we are given the curved surface area of the cone, so we have to add the curved surface area of the cone, we add the curved surface area of the cylinder, and then we add the area at the end there, which is a square. Now we know what we have to deal with. Remember, we use 3.142 here for the value of pi, or you can use your calculator value. So now that I know what to do, I just punch in the values as I get them. All right, you can take out a common factor and factorize pi r. All right, and I simply went and show everything as it's there, but be careful that you do not make a mistake. Ultimately, when you clean this up, it's going to give you about 38.368533 square centimeters. Now they said we must give an answer to 3 significant figures, and to 3 significant figures it will be 38.4 square centimeters, and that is obviously the correct answer. Right. This brings me to the end of this particular series, or this particular part of my series. All right, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, as I said. All right, and also if you need to find the worksheet, you can log into my Google Classroom grade 12 code. You will see I put it up there, and you can print it out, and then you can attempt to do the questions and then have a look at the video to see where is it that you went out. So that is the code for the grade 12 classroom extended that I have put in if you join my Google Classroom.